Exposed, 3 bone-chilling true stories that reveal the eerie secrets of the haunting unknown. Jamie never thought moving to Pine Hill would unravel the layers of old fright hidden beneath the white picket fences. With dreams of a cheerful life, she packed her boxes and set foot into what appeared to be an idyllic suburban paradise. Yet, whispers of despair clung to the air like fog, ancient scars etched into the landscape, waiting for someone to stumble upon their secrets. Beneath the charming facade, unsettling shadows loomed, hiding stories darker than anyone could imagine. As Jamie unpacked the last of her boxes in the dusty basement, she found an ancient, dust-covered journal tucked behind forgotten relics. The moment she brushed the layers of dust aside, a chill coiled around her spine. An unsettling energy emanated from its pages. She opened it, her heart racing, revealing a world filled with tales of fear and darkness that spoke of things long buried. What she thought would be a harmless treasure trove turned ominous as she felt an almost palpable breath whisper through the room, chilling her to the bone. A quick glance through the neighborhood showed houses animated by laughter, but behind those friendly faces lay an unsettling tension that made Jamie's skin crawl. Nights welcomed strange events. The wind howled as if trying to communicate the anguish of souls tormented long ago, while toys mysteriously moved and lights flickered without cause. Neighbors, once vibrant, began to retreat into isolation, their curtains drawn tight, whispers echoing with denial. "Something is wrong here," Jamie muttered, the air heavy with unexplained dread. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let us continue. With a fiery determination, she sought help from her unwavering neighbor, Mr. Harris, a retired military veteran with a storied past wrapped in secrets. Together, they began to peel back the layers of Pine Hill's unsettling history, discovering tales of class discrimination and hidden injustice that lay at the very foundation of their picturesque town. They realized the chilling truth: the spirit awakened by her journal thrived on the divisions that simmered just beneath the surface. They decided to gather everyone for a community meeting, and as families arrived, tension dripped from the walls. Jamie stood before her neighbors, ready to unveil their fears, yet felt the weight of the room pressing against her. Then it happened. A loud crash from the back sent shockwaves through the crowd. Windows shattered, darkness engulfed them, as the air thickened with the malicious laughter of the entity, a stark reminder that they were not alone. Panic erupted among frightened faces, but Jamie locked eyes with Mr. Harris, feeling their shared resolve surge. As chaos enveloped the room, a looming question remained: could the very darkness they sought to confront tear Pine Hill apart, or could they find a way to reclaim their unity before it consumed them whole? Time was running out, and the true horror was just beginning. The pandemonium surged as the crowd scrambled in every direction, screams cutting through the heavy air like blades. Jamie's heart raced. In the chaos, she caught Mr. Harris's gaze once more. His eyes were steely, yet there was a flicker of fear behind them. They needed to act, and fast. "Everyone, listen!" Jamie shouted, her voice barely breaking through the frenzy. "We can't let it break us. We need to stick together." But the crowd was in full flight, panicking. It felt as if the shadows themselves were alive, swirling about the room, hungry for despair. Jamie felt the icy grip of terror tighten around her throat, but she refused to back down. The entity was sowing discord, feeding off their fear. "Protect your loved ones." Mr. Harris's booming voice cut through the panic. He stood near the exit, trying to usher families out. "Don't let it isolate you." Those words echoed in Jamie's mind as she turned her focus back to the massive void where the shadows seemed most concentrated. Whispered secrets danced in her ears, and she felt the journal tugging at her, urging her to confront the darkness that had arisen from its depths. With a deep breath, Jamie stepped forward, her pulse pounding. "We have to confront it together," she cried, hoping to rally whatever courage remained in the room. but there was no time. A sudden gust of cold wind whirled through, knocking over chairs and sending people sprawling. The lights flickered feverishly, casting eerie silhouettes on the walls. Just then, Jamie recalled the tales from the journal warnings of an entity that thrived on fractured spirits, hidden hatred, and division. Could they really unite when the shadows thrived on their discord? Doubt clouded her mind, but she pushed it away. "Mr. Harris," she called over the cacophony. "We need to find a way to show it that we're stronger together." As if on cue, his eyes lit up, remembering something from his past. "The old willow tree," he shouted back. "It's said to connect all those who have been wronged. We can gather there." Nodding, Jamie quickly turned to the others, rallying small pockets of families. "We're moving to the willow tree," she yelled. "Everyone, stay close, don't lose sight of one another." As they fled the hall, Jamie felt the presence stir behind them, an oppressive weight that whispered in an ancient language, tempting them to give in to despair. Families huddled together, faces pale as they dashed toward the light. Their once peaceful town was shifting, morphing into something sinister. Reaching the willow, they found the massive branches swaying eerily, as if alive. "Form a circle," Mr. Harris ordered, standing firm at the center, cutting through the creeping fear. Jamie joined hands with her neighbors, feeling the warmth of their unified defiance. "On three, we share our stories," she shouted. "Let us remind this thing what we've been through together." Eager yet terrified, they counted together. 1, 2, 3. As each neighbor began to recount their own dark struggles, betrayals, loss, hurt, the entity's laughter grew more shrill, the shadows writhing closer. The air thickened, a tension rising with every painful truth shared. With every word, their bond forged, hearts and souls intertwining against the entity's oppressive grasp. And then it happened. The darkness surged forward, chaos erupting as unseen forces clawed at them. Jamie's chest tightened, they were teetering on the edge. "Keep going," Mr. Harris bellowed, the weight of history pushing against them. "We're stronger than it together." As Jamie prepared to share her own truth, a figure emerged from the darkness, and her breath caught. What she saw was not just the shadows, it was a face she recognized all too well. Could it really be someone from her past? Or was it merely a trick of the dark? Panic and determination thundered within her as she prepared to confront this familiar specter. But would the truth they'd uncovered be enough to save Pine Hill? Or were they destined to be consumed by the ghosts of their own making? Jamie squinted into the darkness, her heart pounding furiously against her ribcage. The figure blurred in and out of focus, shadows rolling like waves. It couldn't be, could it? But the familiar features, pale skin, dark hair, struck her like a lightning bolt. "Adam?" she whispered, her voice trembling. The figure took a step forward, his face twisted with an emotion that felt eerily like despair. Memories flooded her mind, the friendship, the arguments, the way he left without a word, the guilt that still haunted her. "Why now? Why here?" "Jamie," he croaked, the sound raw and raspy, echoing with a pain that pierced through the crowd's chaos. The circle tightened around her, Mr. Harris's eyes wide with concern. "What's wrong, Jamie?" he called, his firm grasp tightening around her hand, but she couldn't pull her gaze from Adam's haunted expression. "You shouldn't be here," she said, though a part of her longed for the confrontation. "You left." The shadows pulsed with excitement, swirling around them as the entity responded to Jamie's internal conflict. It wrapped invisible tendrils around her thoughts, whispering dark truths about abandonment and blame. The crowd's storytelling faltered, their voices dimming, suffocated by the weight of ghostly reminders. "You have to let it go," Adam urged, desperation spilling from his every word. "You can't change the past, Jamie. But you mustn't carry it any longer." Her chest constricted. Anger flared up, battle cries against the despair that sought to claim her. "You don't get to tell me that," she shouted, surprising herself. With each word, the shadows seemed to draw closer, devouring the light. Jamie felt their grip tightening around her and the others, feeding off the confusion swirling inside her. The whispers grew louder, urging her to surrender to the familiar despair. "Jamie! Gather your strength!" Mr. Harris shouted from the center, pulling her from the fog of memories. "You have a choice. Don't give in." Breathe. She forced herself to look around. The faces of her neighbors, etched with fear and determination, stared back. They were fighting not just for themselves, but for everyone bound to this tale, for lost connections, hidden pains, and haunting choices. "I cannot let you go again," Adam rasped, his eyes pleading but darkened by something unnatural. "You need to release me. Release us all." Jamie's pulse quickened. She wanted more than anything to scream at him, to confront years of unresolved anger, but beneath that anger lay fear of loss, of vulnerability, and the chains that had held her back. If she didn't confront him here, now, would she be forever condemned to this tragic loop? "Together," Mr. Harris urged again, shaking her from her spiraling thoughts. "Keep sharing your stories. Remind it who you are. What you've overcome." Gathering her breath, Jamie faced Adam. I forgive you," she whispered, the words catching in her throat, fighting against the flood of emotions. "But I won't let you control my life anymore." The moment she spoke, a crack echoed throughout the cluster of people. Jamie felt a wave of heat wash over her, the shadows flinching back, as if shrieking in agony. The air shifted. The circle pulsed with newfound strength, feeding off the unbreakable bonds of shared truth. "What is happening?" Adam's voice cracked, shifting into anger. "You can't run from me forever." "Yes, I can," she replied, her heart racing. "And I will if you fade away now." With that declaration, Jamie unleashed years of grief and forgiveness, her words washing over the crowd like a cleansing tide. The tension broke, and a moment of surreal silence washed through the air. Then came the fury, the shrieks of shadows echoing as they recoiled, desperately trying to cling to the darkness Jamie had no intention of allowing back in, but as the echoes of her truth bled into the darkness, a terrifying realization struck: Adam was beginning to dissolve right before her eyes, yet a deeper shadow was looming behind him, one that felt more substantial and powerful. "What did you just do?" Mr. Harris yelled. "What's coming?" The crowd gasped collectively as a menacing shape emerged from the depths of the dark, revealing eyes that glowed with an otherworldly shimmer. Jamie felt the air shift once again, a vicious displacement that left her breathless. "Hold the circle," Mr. Harris commanded fiercely, pulling them together. A heavy question echoed in the back of Jamie's mind: could they really fight this entity that had been summoned from her own darkness? As dread surged, she gripped her neighbor's hands tightly. Light flickered from the old willow, struggling against the encroaching shadows. But could the bonds they formed really keep the darkness at bay? In that heartbeat of stillness, something deep within Jamie resonated, a spark igniting. What other secrets would the shadows reveal? The air hung thick with tension, a palpable layer that wrapped around Jamie and her neighbors like a suffocating cloak. The menacing shape behind Adam loomed closer, radiating an energy that felt wrong, too cold, too hungry. It seemed to pulse with malevolent intent, drinking in fear and dread like nectar. "What are you?" Jamie shouted, her voice steadier than she felt. The shadows shivered, hesitant as though taunted by her courage. The silhouette coalesced into something more defined, a twisted figure with elongated limbs and an unnatural grin. Its eyes glinted like shards of polished obsidian, reflecting a truth that clawed at the edges of her mind. This wasn't just Adam's darkness, it was the embodiment of everything she feared, the weight of every mistake, every regret. "She summoned me," the figure hissed, the voice scraping against Jamie's senses like nails on chalkboard. "You wish to confront your pain, and I am here to show you just how deep those wounds run." Jamie's heartbeat thundered, a frantic reminder of her mortality. Memories crashed through her: a childhood bully, the bitter end of a first love, a winter night when silence swallowed her cries. Each memory coalesced into a piece of the entity before her. "No! she cried, pulling against the grip of her neighbors, the warmth of their hands a flickering lantern in the encroaching dark. You don't own me. You're just a collection of my fears. Fears? It echoed, the word blending with a mocking laughter that rumbled like distant thunder. Fears can become quite real when you give them breath. May I introduce you to your friends? Suddenly, shadows unfurled, reaching into the crowd, drawing forward figures that formed from the darkness around Jamie. Faces from her past, lost and twisted, a classmate who'd betrayed her, a mentor who'd abandoned her, even the flicker of faces from forgotten dreams, haunted and hollow. No! Jamie screamed, the word tearing from her throat. You're not real. You're all just memories. But as they stepped closer, their eyes, voids filled with bitterness, held her captive, and doubt coursed through her veins like ice. She felt the weight of their disappointment, their hatred, amplified by the omnipresent figure that loomed behind. Mr. Harris's voice cut through the despair. Jamie, remember who you are. Remember your truth. Share it with them. Breathe. The frantic rhythm of her heart began to meld into a steadier pulse as she focused, pooling memories of resilience. I am not what you say. I am stronger than you think. I've faced worse and come out alive. With those words, her memories didn't vanish, they shifted, transforming the entities before her. They morphed from hostile shadows into echoes of lessons learned. The tall figure turned monstrous with rage, but Jamie pressed on, determined. You taught me to be cautious. You taught me that vulnerability is strength. The shadows hesitated, bewildered. She felt the grip on her heart loosening. Every ounce of her strength surged, filling the circle, igniting the air with a heat that could burn away the darkness, yet the malevolence grew, knowing, howling in denial. You think your truth can banish me? I am the depths of your soul. Gritting her teeth, Jamie held her ground. No. You didn't create me. I am the courage I fought for. I am the love I still crave. The supernatural entity recoiled, and the eyes of the figures wavered, confused. The crowd pressed closer, their unified belief in Jamie's strength bolstering the light that battled the shadows. Together. Mr. Harris shouted, his voice a rallying cry echoing in defiance. Share your truths. Protect your light. Jamie locked onto the countless faces surrounding her, each carving a piece of her soul into the fabric of their community. They held the weight of shared pain and promise, of laughter and an unyielding bond. They faced the looming dread head-on, but just as Jamie felt the shadows begin to retreat, a sudden tremor ran through the ground, vibrating up into her bones. Something bigger stirred, a force that threatened to swallow the light whole. Pulling them down into an abyss of shadow. Do not let the light extinguish. Echoed the malevolent figure, now towering above all. Embrace your darkness. It's all you've ever known. Hearts raced, vulnerability shaken by the clash between light and dark. What deeper horrors lay beyond this fight? Jamie was anchored in uncertainty, the figures of her despair looming yet again, whispering secrets drenched in panic and doubt. Her voice rose above the chaos. No. We will fight for the light. We will not surrender. But as she declared her truth, the entity roared, shaking the very earth beneath them. The shadows screamed, desperate to pull her into their depths, revealing flickers of secrets yet to be uncovered. Just then, a flicker of light bright and pure pierced through the darkness. But was it hope, or a lure leading her to a fate yet unknown? What other secrets would surface from the shadows in this battle for her soul? The earth trembled as Jamie's voice shot through the chaos, growing stronger amid the discord. We will not surrender. Her declaration rang out with a fierce clarity, resonating not just in her own heart but echoing in the hearts of those around her. The light flickered again, casting long shadows that danced menacingly but revealed the vibrancy of the community standing against the darkness. The towering figure bellowed, a cacophony of rage that rattled the very air. You think you can defy me? I am the backlash of every choice you've made. I will feast on your despair. Each word struck Jamie like a physical blow, twisting her insides. Memories flashed, sharp as daggers, the moments she wished she could erase. But surrounded by her neighbors, those who understood her struggles, she drew deeper, determined to counter the shadows that threatened to engulf them all. "Do you see them?" Jamie shouted into the dark, pointing toward the twisted faces that had once been her tormentors but were now trapped in a shadow prison of their own making. "They are lost. They can't hurt me anymore." With this realization, the crowd surged around her, a living shield against the oppressive entity. Mr. Harris stepped forward, his presence a towering beacon. "We stand together. We are more than the burdens we carry." The malevolent figure shrieked, its eyes erupting with fury. The shadows behind it writhed, instinctively drawn toward its agony. Jamie, focusing on the flicker of light that pierced the gloom, felt a new kind of energy swell within her. Light and hope intertwined, creating a force ready to ignite the darkness. Then, in a moment that felt suspended in time, the flickering light coalesced into something solid and bright, shimmering with a warmth that washed over the crowd. A shared breath echoed among them, a collective heartbeat that blackened the shadows looming over their vulnerabilities. "Remember!" shouted a woman in the crowd, her voice resolute. "Remember why we are here. Remember the love, the laughter, those moments we hold in our hearts." With each reminder, Jamie felt layers of the past, the barricades of pain and remorse, peel away. These figures that haunted her transformed in her mind no longer iconic villains from a horror story but mere reflections of her collective experience. The towering figure staggered, its shape twisting and warping as though the strength binding it to this realm waned in the face of their united truth. "You think this is over? You merely scraped the surface. There are layers to your darkness that you have not begun to confront." Jamie's heart thudded against her ribcage. What more could it possibly unleash? Suddenly, a surge of images rushed into her mind, the decisions she avoided, the chances she let slip, the friendships she let fade. Would these emerging truths be too heavy to bear? "No!" Jamie rang out, voice rising against doubt. "These are not chains, they are lessons. I face my past to strengthen my future." The shadows hissed, recoiling with palpable anger, but the light flared in response, vibrant and undeterred. "We are not alone!" Jamie shouted, her voice electrifying the air. She met every gaze around her filled with hope, pain, purpose, and determination, but the malevolent figure pulsated with furious energy, a storm desperate to claim them. "The truth, my dear, is not so easily faced. You have only begun to scrape the surface of what lies within what you truly fear." With its words, the light quivered. The shadows shifted, and something deeper began to stir within Jamie, a memory so intertwined with fear it felt suffocating. A secret she had buried deep, courage and dread battled within her. Did she have the strength to confront this final truth? Just when the light felt dim, another voice from the crowd broke through, calling, "Trust in your journey. Trust in us." Jamie took a deep breath, pulling the warmth of her community close like a protective cloak. "Yes. Trust," she cried, feeling the light swell. But just as the ebony veil above them began to tremble, a surge of raw energy erupted. And within that moment, Jamie faced her past, but would it set her free, or would it bind her forever? A chilling laugh echoed into the vastness, the dark figure lingering, whispering, "There are things in darkness that are waiting to consume you whole." What shadows of the past would she have to uncover next? What new horrors awaited her? The ground shook, and the air crackled with tension as Jamie's heart raced. Shadows twisted around her, contorting in ways that made her gasp. Just when she thought she understood the depths of her fear, the dark figure stepped forward, and every soul around her seemed to hold their breath as the temperature plummeted. "Do you want to know what I am?" The figure sneered, its voice a venomous whisper that slithered into Jamie's ears. "I am not just your tormentor, I am the silhouette of every regret, every heartache you've buried." A wave of icy dread rushed through the crowd, solidifying their fear and making the warmth of the light flicker ominously. Sensing their retreat, Jamie stood her ground, heart pounding, cheeks flushed from defiance. "You're wrong. We refuse to let you define us." With every ounce of strength she could muster, she let her voice be a rallying cry. "We are not your shadows, we are the light." As if in response, the figure howled, agitated, the shadows swirling violently like a tempest. A shroud of darkness erupted from its core, stretching toward the crowd, seeking to isolate Jamie. "You think you can simply push me away? There are depths of despair you dare not recall." The murmurs of the crowd intensified with each beat of Jamie's heart, growing louder and more chaotic. She felt the fear rising around her like a thick fog, palpable and suffocating. Her vision narrowed as memories began to claw back, rising to the surface like a dark tide, a childhood betrayal, a friendship fractured by misunderstanding, a fierce argument over a choice that had cost her dearly. A woman beside her suddenly cried out, wrestling her own demons. "It took my son. I let it take him." Her voice cracked, puncturing the thick tension. The towering figure turned, feeding on this opened wound, swelling with power. "Yes. See how easy it is? I thrive on your vulnerabilities. Your pain is my strength." Every word was a sharpened blade digging into vulnerability, inciting the darkness in each heart. "No!" Jamie shouted, her voice quaking with raw passion. "This is our moment to heal. Together, we will face what has been buried." She clenched her fists, the warmth of her community wrapping tightly around her, tangible and strong. "You are nothing without us. We are stronger than our fears." And suddenly, the flicker of light grew brighter, shimmering with an intensity that shot through the despair weighing upon them. Jamie could feel it, a charge of energy, a chorus of memories igniting hope within her. Would they rise to embrace that light together? As the figure snarled, the shadows writhed, pulling back, retreating from the brightness as if they were made of smoke. "Your light will not last," it hissed, desperation creeping into its tone. "Faced with the truth, you will crumble." At that moment, Jamie felt something shift within her. A memory crystallized, sharp and clear. She recalled a night spent in tears, grappling with the decision to leave behind a lifelong dream. It hurt to remember, but there was power in confronting that pain, power that resonated with her neighbors. "I let fear bind me," she proclaimed. "I will no longer allow it to control my fate." The energy around her exploded, a vibrant glow radiating outward. The community joined her voice, chanting, "Together! Together!" Their echoes bounced off the shadows, splintering the darkness that sought to hold them back. Then, as if unleashed from a dam, a torrential wave of understanding and acceptance swept through Jamie. With every chant, the memories of love rushed in, washing over their truths. The dark figure writhed, its form flickering, struggling against the illuminating force of their unity, but just as they began to believe they might overpower it, the shadows morphed into familiar faces, memories twisted beyond recognition. "You will never escape the remnants of your past," they cried in unison, a haunting echo, recalling mistakes that stung like a hornet's nest. In that moment of chaos, Jamie sensed the invasion of doubt creeping back. It whispered insidiously in the back of her mind, "What if they are right?" A sickening chill crept down her spine. Had they awakened the very ghosts they thought they could beat? Would the battle be won only to reveal deeper, darker horrors waiting in the corner of her heart? As the ground trembled and the light flickered, Jamie took a deep breath, grounding herself in her resolve. The fight wasn't over. What other secrets were lurking in the shadows? And who truly held the power to define the outcome? As the shadows loomed larger, darker, and more malicious, Jamie prepared for the next onslaught, awaiting revelations that could change everything. What would rise next, and would they be strong enough to face it together? The shadows pulsed like a heartbeat, reverberating through the ground and causing the air to thicken as Jamie steadied herself. Every fiber of her being screamed at her to retreat, but she couldn't show weakness now. The cries of her neighbors, filled with raw fear and doubt, chimed in her ears, drowning out the sinister whispers of the figure before them. "You think your resolve can withstand the storm?" The figure crooned, its face twisting into a grotesque smile. You are but children clinging to dreams while reality devours you whole. Jamie clenched her fists tighter. We won't let you take us down, she shouted, her voice echoing defiantly. She glanced around, desperation coursing through her. She could see the uncertainty on faces she had once believed would stand firm. You have to believe. You are not alone. But as soon as she spoke, cracks began to splinter through the luminous barrier they had formed. The memories morphing around them deepened, transforming their hopes into horrors, returning searing pain to the surface. Laughter grew from some dark corner, filling the air with a chilling reminder of what awaited them if they succumbed to fear. Remember, remember, all the things you wish you could forget. The figure's voice rang out again, rising above the din of voices in the crowd. Each word wove into their minds, stitching together scenes of heartache and loss that they had buried deep. A man near Jamie staggered back, his eyes wide with recognition. I wasn't there, I didn't save her. His anguish punctured the light, sending ripples of dread through the group. There it is. The figure cackled, its form bulging with newfound strength. Your regrets are hooks, pulling you deeper into the pit of despair. Embrace it. With every syllable, Jamie felt the ground beneath her feet tremble more violently. Fear tainted the air, leaving a bitter taste, wrapping around her throat. Paralyzed by the unveiling truth of their pasts, she could see them, her friends, her neighbors, succumbing one by one to the memories clawing for their attention. No, remember the warmth of laughter. Jamie called, trying to reclaim the power of shared love crashing against the tide of despair. Recall the moments that made you feel alive. Don't let it win. But doubt was a sly serpent, coiling around Jamie and squeezing harder with each passing moment. They're lost, Jamie, it hissed. They'll never be whole again. She locked eyes with a young girl on the edge of the crowd, tears streaming down her cheeks. Stay strong, Jamie urged, a surge of determination igniting within her. If they failed here, they would be lost forever to the shadows. Suddenly, with a shattering roar, the figure burst forth, a wave of dark energy washing over everyone, pulling at their very essence. Surrender! It shrieked, the voice like nails on a chalkboard. Let me take what's rightfully mine. Jamie fell to her knees, the shadows swirling fiercely around her, brushing against her skin as if they were trying to pull her into the depths of darkness. The weight of despair surged through her, filling her lungs with icy air. She was losing them, losing herself. Think of the warmth. The love. Stand together. She implored, her voice trembling yet resolute, echoing in the cacophony of chaos. But as she chanted for unity, the figure shifted, morphing into a distorted reflection of Jamie. Its voice turned softer, mocking her internal struggle. See? You're the one made of fear. You're the reason they falter. They follow your lead, and look where it has led them. No. I won't let you win. You have no power here. She yelled, desperation thick in the air. As Jamie stood, something snapped in her. She was far more than her pain. They all were. The figure flickered, uncertainty rippling through its dark form. Just when Jamie thought she had regained control, a sudden memory struck, one more potent than the rest, a moment of courage that turned her life around. Show them you can shine. She yelled, bringing forth the light from within, igniting an emboldened strength in her community. Would they feed on the light instead of the dark? With an almost primal roar, the shadows surged forward, threatening to pull her in, but Jamie's spirit flared brightly as she called upon all their strengths. Would her declaration be enough to awaken their courage? The figure's laughter echoed menacingly, shaking the ground beneath them. You think you possess the will to change your fate? You are only one flickering flame in the vast darkness. And in that moment, all eyes were on Jamie, waiting, trembling with anticipation. Would her belief in their strength sparking the fire of rebellion, or would she drown under the weight of her call? As the shadows closed in once more, Jamie's heart raced. Could the power of their shared truth turn against the figure? Or would she learn that mere defiance was not enough? The night was far from over, and the true test awaited them. Would they rise or fall? Would they face the truth, or remain ensnared by their pasts forever? The shadows convulsed, surging like a wild tide, clawing at Jamie's legs, wrapping around her like chains forged in nightmares. She felt their cold touch against her skin, their whispers icier than any winter wind. "Join us, Jamie. You're one of us, no?" she shouted, fighting against the insidious pull as desperation clawed at her heart. "I am not afraid. You have no hold over me." The clarity of her voice rang above the turmoil, but doubt curled back, laughing, slithering through her mind. Jamie reached deep inside, flicking the switch to switch on her memory of resilience. The faces of her neighbors flared brightly in her mind, Martha's warm smile, Tom's laughter echoing down the street, the children playing in the golden sun. There was strength in those moments. They were more than just shadows, more than just regrets. Suddenly, she felt a flicker of hope ripple through the group. Some had raised their heads, their expressions shifting from fear to anger. "We're not alone," shouted one voice, a flame igniting in the air, maneuvering through the dense heaviness that weighed upon them. "We're stronger together." The figure faltered for a heartbeat, a grimace distorting its twisted face. Jamie sensed that they were starting to resist. The darkness recoiled just slightly, twisting and undulating as it battled against their defiance. There was an opening, a glimpse of light, however faint. "Yes," Jamie urged, her voice rising. "We have to remember. Not just our losses, but the victories too. The moments that made us feel alive and whole." With each word, the light surged, urging others to join her. As if galvanized, the crowd began to echo Jamie's proclamation. "We are stronger. Together. We brave through the darkness." Laughter erupted, ricocheting in the night, filling the void left by fear. The shadows trembled, churning beneath their feet in disarray. Jamie strained against the darkness, heart pounding, blood rushing in exhilaration. "Can you feel it?" she implored. "That fire? That warmth? It's what we are made of." The whispers faded as they transformed into a chorus of voices, more potent than the figure's sinister tone, harmonizing in rejection of despair. "Enough!" the figure shrieked, a wild rage echoing through the air. It felt like a storm gathering. "You think your flimsy hope could dare oppose me?" Jamie felt the ground shift, the darkness thrashing against her resolve, yet she stood firm, unmarred by the tumult. "We don't need your permission to exist," she declared, heart alive with each syllable. "You are nothing but a reflection of fears we choose to leave behind." The shadows blinked, flickering like a dying flame, the figure's form beginning to distort and unravel. It was losing its grip. "Stand strong," she urged, looking at the faces around her. "We're not just fighting for ourselves. We owe it to each other, to the memories that bind us." Suddenly, a bright light burst forth from within the communal mass, emanating from the hearts of those who had found their strength again. Shimmering tendrils of light cascaded outward, dancing against the dark, chasing away the leering shadows. The air crackled with energy, shifting, a palpable force of unity vibrating around them, but just as it seemed they might prevail, the figure contorted again, morphing into a grotesque beast, losing its human form, manifesting a visage of Jamie's most profound fears. "You believe in love?" it howled, laughter echoing cruelly. "You can't escape your past. Your nightmares will come for you." Jamie staggered back, the images flashing before her eyes: loss, betrayal, her own reflection twisted in despair. A lump formed in her throat, threatening to choke her resolve. "Face them!" she screamed internally, summoning the love that had sustained her all this time. "Your past doesn't define you. We are not merely what has happened to us." The words surged like a dam breaking, flooding the dark with light, through the veil of shadows, Jamie could see glimmers of hope in the faces around her, the stirrings of familiarity and tenderness that the figure sought to spin into torment. She steeled herself, rallying every shred of courage, ready to unleash the truth buried deep within their hearts. As the radiant light battled the grotesque looming darkness, Jamie felt the tide shift. But what would it take to sever the last cord binding them to the figure? The real test was just beginning, and she could feel the darkness swirling, preparing for one final assault. Could she and her neighbors hold on to their belief as the shadows struck back? Jamie steeled herself, knowing the real fight wasn't against an external foe, but the demons within each of them. Would they stand resolute together or unravel in the face of fear? The night trembled with impending doom, the air thick with urgency. And just as Jamie prepared to unleash everything, the figure unleashed a catastrophic roar that silenced the encroaching light. "Who do you think you are?" The atmosphere crackled with tension, and for an instant, there was only uncertainty. What awaited them, victory or utter darkness? Only the dawn would tell. A shockwave of despair reverberated through the crowd, every heart hammering in unity. Jamie felt it keenly, her own pulse surged, echoing the growing doubt swirling in the air like an ominous storm cloud. "Who do you think you are?" The figure's voice crashed against them, an avalanche of scorn. In that crushing moment of uncertainty, Jamie swallowed hard, resisting the urge to falter. She moved closer to the cluster of faces illuminated by her light, each one a reminder of what they were fighting for. "Stick together. We have to push back." The words burst forth, fueled by adrenaline and desperation. As the shadows surged like a tide intent on drowning them, she squeezed her eyes shut, reliving the moments that forged her spirit, her mother's warm embrace, friends gathered around a fire, laughter ringing like a bell in the twilight. Those were the treasures of her heart. They cast long shadows, but they also illuminated the path ahead. "We're not just whispers in the dark," Jamie shouted, her voice sharper than glass. "We are living, breathing souls, and our story doesn't end here." With that declaration, the light from the group intensified, radiant and pure. Yet the figure bristled, its grotesque form coiling in a painful mockery of human emotion. All this for what? A fleeting grasp at hope? "You're merely a flicker in an endless void," it bellowed, the darkness seeming to deform and swell, ready to swallow them whole. Jamie watched as the air vibrated around them, rippling like the surface of disturbed water. Sweat beaded on her brow, fear gnawed at the edge of her courage. She sensed the others faltering, their resolve flickering as the shadow loomed like a monstrous wave, ready to crash down. "Don't let it in," she screamed, each word a lifeline yanked from the abyss. The crowd swayed, some expressions clouded with terror, but others began to weave doubt and determination together into a fabric strong enough for their stand. "We can't let it win." Another voice rang out, and as if sparked, they began chanting in unified rhythm, their words blending together like a chant that shook the foundation beneath them. "Together. Stronger. We are here." The figure recoiled, a grimace distorting its face, and for a brief moment, Jamie felt the shadows dissipate as if the collective hope was striking the beast down like a lightning bolt. Yet, the darkness roared back fiercely, a tempest unleashed, curling around them with tendrils that choked the air. "You cannot escape me. I am the essence of your deepest fears," it shrieked, voice dripping with malice. Jamie's heart sank further as laughter clipping and hollow etched through the air. Brief flashes of dark memories clawed at her mind, the faces of lost loved ones, regrets snarling like beasts in the underbrush of her thoughts. She took a deep breath, the smell of burnt memories flooding her senses. "You're right," she admitted to the dark, voice steady through the storm. "You are my fears. But they don't control me." With each pulse of resolve, Jamie shrouded herself in her memories, not just the sorrow but the joy, the triumph, the why she fought. As she stood, the shadows pressed closer, slinking and hissing. But a breath of warmth emanated from her center, a fire igniting the hearts around her. It sparked a chain reaction, illuminating the depths of the bleak terror that surrounded them. Each person bore his or her light, and through this collective resurgence, a shield formed against the encroaching darkness. "We are our stories," she yelled, strength coursing through her like a mighty river crashing against rocks. "And together, we write the ending." Yet as the shadows cascaded back, the figure twisted and elongated, eyes glittering with a horrible brilliance. "You foolish children," it cackled, "you haven't seen what waits beyond this moment." Jamie felt the ground quake beneath her, the pressure between dark and light straining like a taut string. What did it mean? What was this ominous promise? She could sense it coiling, thrumming, waiting for the inevitable fallout as dread filled her chest, a lead weight ready to drag her down. The shadows hovered with a tension that seemed to stretch for miles, and all at once, she felt the fabric of reality fray around her. But she couldn't back down. Not now. What twisted revelation would the figure unveil that could unravel everything they had fought for? Time hung in the air like a thick fog, each heartbeat more daunting than the last. In the depths of darkness, what awaited them? The figure's laughter exploded into the hollow night, echoing through the air like thunder. "You think you can confront me and emerge unscathed? I am the culmination of your lingering regrets. The final veil of your pasts." Shadows writhed at its feet, reaching out with sinister fingers, enticing the community to surrender to their hidden fears. Jamie felt the ground beneath her tremble, a palpable reminder of the fight that lay ahead. Breathing deeply, she closed her eyes for a moment, centering herself in the cacophony of chaos surrounding them. Memories flashed through her: warmth from friends, laughter during summer picnics, and quiet moments of joy. Those were the beacons shining against the darkness, and she could not let them overtake her. "Together," she shouted, her heart pounding with fervor. "We're stronger together." The circle tightened, souls twinkling like stars against the ink-black sky. "Share your light," she urged, feeling the surge of strength ripple through her neighbors. It was the spark they needed. Each voice rose up, harmonizing like a melody that sang through the fear, lifting them higher. They began to chant their truths, stories woven into the very fabric of their community, loss transformed into remembrance, darkness countered with hope, strife met with strength. "We won. Let you win," Mr. Harris bellowed, his commanding voice cutting through the oppressive fog. "We define who we are." The shadows hissed, twisting fiercely, recoiling back as if stung. Jamie felt the warmth of arms surround her, the unity against the encroaching terror charging through them like lightning, powerful and electric. "The past is not our prison," someone yelled, their voice rising above others, igniting heads to nod vehemently. "We make our own futures." Jamie's heart raced. With every proclamation, the glow of their combined spirit felt tangible, shining brightly against the shadows. Each story shared pushed the malevolent figure back, each breath fueled by the belief that they were not defined by their scars. The entity's grotesque form lurched, twisting as anger flashed in its dark eyes. "You are bound to your past. You are all fools to think you can escape me," it screeched, the sound cutting through the air like claws against glass. "No," Jamie corrected, planting her feet firmly on the ground like roots of the willow. "We are not fools. We've learned from every moment. Our lives are written by us, not by you." A flicker of light surged in her chest, pouring warmth into the space around her. "We can rise above." Suddenly, the oppressive shadows that had loomed so heavily started to thin. Her neighbors' truths, woven together, surged through the darkness, fracturing the ominous grip the entity held. "Look around," Jamie continued, voice unwavering. "Remember the love that brought us here. Our community of shared memories. We claim our power together." A ribbon of pure light erupted from the heart of the circle, spiraling up into the sky. It engulfed the shadows, pushing them back with a radiant force that illuminated the night. The weight of despair began to lift as laughter intertwined with the night air. They could hear the timbre of joy, rising through the fear and doubt. "No!" the figure bellowed, writhing as the brightness expanded. "You can't just reject the darkness. It runs in your blood." But Jamie felt the warmth of her neighbor's hands squeeze hers, steady and true. Love, empathy, and unity surged, cascading through their memories like liquid light. With every heartbeat, they reclaimed elements of themselves long buried past hurts transformed into wisdom, once crushing regrets became stepping stones. "We are not what we feared," she yelled back, her voice full of power. "We are the sum of our strength." The shadows burst, a wild storm of darkness scattering like leaves caught in a windstorm. The figure, rage-twisted and feral, shrank and undulated as its strength waned in the face of collective light. "You will not defeat me forever," it cried, but the taint of dread was weakening, slipping away like sand through fingers. The crowd erupted in a euphoric cheer, joy lighting up their tired faces. Jamie felt alive, a fire ignited within her that pulsed with hope. "We rise together," she declared firmly, feeling the unity swell. "This moment is ours to claim." With one final cry, the light surged forth, wrapping around the dark figure, pulling it into the abyss from which it came. As it dissolved into nothingness, the shadows that had haunted Pine Hill flickered and vanished, making space for the dawn that broke on the horizon. As the first rays of sunlight bathed them in warmth, Jamie felt release washing over her. The fight was not only external but internal. They had collectively chosen to confront their fears. Unbroken, she turned to her neighbors, their faces lit by the warmth of the new day. "We did it!" she exclaimed, dizzy with relief and exhilaration. Each neighbor nodded, tears of joy mingling with disbelief. They had each faced their darkness, but together they had become something beautiful. As Pine Hill embraced its new chapter, Jamie knew that their ghosts lived on, but only as reminders of where they had come from, not chains that bound them. The remnants of shadows would whisper, but their voices would never overshadow the laughter and the love they held in their hearts. "Let us keep each other strong," Jamie suggested, no longer fearful of the stories they carried. Every tale shared would now be a testament to their resilience. Laughter echoed as they walked toward the bustling town, determination shining in every heart. They would build a future together, a future unafraid. Jamie felt lighter, every step forward a celebration of everything they had overcome, and right then, standing among her neighbors, she knew she belonged. Finally free, they all looked ahead, ready to embrace whatever came next, together. "Now that you've journeyed with us to this thrilling conclusion, there's something incredibly important that needs your immediate attention. You need to subscribe now to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that await. There are more tales of thrill and adventure just around the corner. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support makes a difference. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about tonight's ending. Let us know what you think. And don't wait even one more second. Immediately share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your pals deserve to experience this riveting story too. This is the moment to show your support and let us ensure we keep this amazing journey going together.